Hello everyone. In the last class we have seen properties of cosets. Okay, in that we have proved one theorem. So here in this class we shall prove Lagrange's theorem. So before proving Lagrange's theorem we need a coset decomposition. The meaning of the coset decomposition. So let's see the meaning of coset decomposition. Let G be a group and H be a subgroup. We know that always any right coset or left coset is non-empty, because so here we can observe that an element A belongs to G and E belongs to H. We can form at least one element in the coset that A into E equals to A only, which belongs to the right coset or left coset. So here I have taken left side, therefore we can write it as left coset, or similarly we can write it as E dot A equals to A only, we can write it as right coset. Okay, that means always you remember that any right coset or left coset is non-empty, that is HA is always not equals to empty. Okay, and from the second point, so here in the last class we have proved that theorem that any two right cosets or left cosets are either identical or either disjoints. That means any two right or left cosets are either identical or disjoint. So from these two facts we can conclude that the union of all right cosets, or you can use the left cosets, union of all right cosets or left cosets is equals to the set G. That is, we can write union of HA union HB union and so on, we get the set G itself. Okay, here why I am writing H means because we know that H itself is a right coset or left coset, therefore we can write it as union of all the right cosets or union of all the left cosets gives the set group G itself. Okay, so from this condition this condition is useful in the Lagrange's theorem. Now Lagrange's theorem statement. If G is any finite group and H is a subgroup of G, then order of H divides order of G. So this is a statement of Lagrange's theorem. Okay, so that it means that suppose order of G is equals to n and order of H is equals to m, then we have to show that m divides n, that is n can be written as k into m. So n can be factorized into k into m. For example, suppose order of G is a group which has 6 elements. That means order of G is equals to 6, and H be a subgroup of order 2. Then we have to show that 2 divides 6. So this is the possible case that order of H is 2. Suppose order of H is 4, then it is not possible that 4 divides 6. So this is impossible. Okay, that means the only possible orders are, so see here, the possible orders of this group subgroups of this group G are, that is, because G has of order 6, therefore the only possible orders are 1, 2, 3 and 6 itself. Because, so see here, 2 and 6 can be factorized into 2 and 3, and 1 is of or 1 is a subgroup of order 1, and 6 is a group G itself. So this is how the Lagrange's theorem is useful. So see here, so order of H is equals to 1. It is a trivial subgroup. That is, trivial means H is equals to a subgroup which has only one element, that is equals to itself. This is known thing. And order of 6. So the subgroup of order 6 is order of H equals to 6, implies that the group G itself, because G itself has a 6 elements, that we know that every group has at least 2 subgroups, that is, one is trivial subgroup. So trivial means the subgroup containing only one element, that is identity element, and second one the group G itself. Okay, so therefore, and 6 can be factorized into the possible integers that divide 6 are 1, 2, 3 and 6. Therefore, the possible order of subgroups are 1, 2, 3 and 6. So this is the use of Lagrange's theorem. So this Lagrange's theorem is useful to find the possible orders of the subgroups of a group G. Okay. Now we shall move towards the proof. Proof. Let G be a group of order n. So order of G equals to n, and let H be a subgroup of order m, that is order of H equals to m. Then we shall show that m divides n, that is, we have to show that n can be written as k into m. So if we show that n equals to k dot m, then we can, so this is the proof. Now, so we know that because G is a group of order n, that is finite order, we can form finite number of cosets. Because G is finite, we can form, or it has finite number of right or left cosets. Okay. Now we form one by one right cosets. So order of G is equals to n means, so suppose imagine that G has the elements such that A1, A2, A3 and so on up to because order is n, it has n elements. Okay, and H has the elements such that H1, H2, H3 and so on up to order of H is equals to m. Therefore, it has m number of elements. Now, we form the right cosets. Let A1 belongs to G, then we can form the right coset as H A1 is equals to, it is of the form H1 A1, H2 A2, H3 A3 and so on HM A1. So similarly, let A2 belongs to G, H A2, H1 A2, H2 A2, H3 A2, sorry, this is A1, A1, A1. Okay. So H A2 and so on up to HM A2. So similarly, how many number of right cosets we can form? So here we can form total, because G has n number of elements, we can form n number of right cosets, but we need only distinct right cosets, because only distinct right cosets are valid. If they are identical, we treat them as only one coset. For example, in the last class we have seen that G is a multiplicative group which has the elements 1, minus 1, I and minus I, and H is a subgroup 1 and minus 1. Then there exist total 4 right cosets, but we have considered only 2 right cosets. Okay, so in the same way, that because this set G has n number of elements, we can form n number of cosets, but only we consider distinct right cosets. Therefore, we say that it has, for example, it suppose it has only k number of distinct right or left cosets. Okay, we don't take total all numbers, that is n number of right cosets, we only need k number of distinct right cosets. Okay, so that means G has k number of distinct right or left cosets. Now, from the coset decomposition, it implies that G can be, or I will write here, G can be written as union of the all the right cosets. So union of all the right cosets. So because H itself is a right coset, I will write H union HA1 union HA2 union HA3. So until so on, we can write totally it has k distinct. So it has k distinct right cosets, we can write it as H A K. Therefore, if I take order here, order to the both side, order of G will be order of H union order of HA1 union order of HA2 and so on union order of HAK, or we can write it as order of H as it is union. We know that all the right cosets or left cosets will have the same number of elements as that in the H. Okay, that means order of H is equals to order of H A1, that is all order of left or right coset is equals to order of H. Therefore, in the place of order of HA1 is equals to, we can write this as order of H. So this term I in the last class only I have explained. So once again you see here, H has total m elements. So you can observe that HA1 also have total m elements. So similarly Ha2, so second coset also has the m number of elements. Therefore we can say that order of H is equals to order of Ha1 equals to order of Ha2, or we can write it as any, you can use the any right coset. Okay, therefore here we can write order of Ha1 is equals to order of H union, again order of Ha2 we can replace it by order of H. So similarly order of H only. So here, because here we have total k number of right cosets, on adding all these we get k number of order of H, or k into, we know that order of H is equals to m and order of G is equals to n. Therefore we have proved that n can be written as k into m. So this is the proof. Okay, or you can write it as m divides n, that is order of H divides order of G.